About now. Welcome to another episode of Stoke Meter, and we have one of the original ambassadors of Stoke, Kevin Sutton here. Kevin Sutton is the host of the Kevin Sutton Show. Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh man, it's been a while, man, but it's the Kevin Sutton Show, all action all the time on ESPN, and we're always in your face, and we want to know what's popping, baby. What's popping with you? It is definitely a blessing to be able to get to talk to you guys because you were there when our show just started and we had nothing going on and just a small audience, but Stoke Meter came in and helped us expand into the wakeboard industry like never before and wind up our one day a week. It sounds hard to even say it, but like the 1 day a week show that was on Saturdays at 12 o'clock in the morning, one of the worst slots for radio. I did not know about that when I started. Led into us being 5 days a week on ESPN and being one of the largest and fastest growing shows that the station had, that we reached an outpouring of people across the world. Actually, we had people and listeners because of Stoke Meter, people from Australia, Indonesia, the Philippines. It was absolutely amazing the amount of support we got from you guys and the wakeboarding industry that helped catapult us into what they told us from the beginning was, you guys are doing great, but we want you to talk more about mainstream sports. I'm like, what's mainstream? Like skateboarding, BMX, motocross, skydiving, you know what I'm saying? Wake skating. And they're like, yeah, mainstream as in like NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey. I'm like, yeah, I could talk about those things, but that's not exciting. That's not action, baby. That's not in your face, So, but the money was better, baby. The money was better. I had to change up, I went corporate from there,
Well, I have to say, man, it's been way too long. It is so good to see you, and in this day and age, it's so easy to kind of just to follow people's progression and where they're going. And, I've just been following along the whole way, and it's been exciting to see your trajectory. So, but it's really nice to talk to you again.
Kevin, I didn't even realize you were on 5 days a week, man. That's some work. That's some work. How did you do it, dude?
It got really crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? One thing my wife always said is, and I don't know who the hell she stole it from, but I know she's not that smart, right? I don't know to give her that much credit.
Kick your butt.
She's like, she said, if you need something done, ask a busy person. And, I don't know how I got it done. And one day I actually looked at my calendar and I had either an event or the radio show or our fatherhood program, something, or my construction company going on every single last day of the week. And there wasn't even a moment. There was sometimes 4 or 5 events in a day. And I don't know how I did that for 12 years. I can't even fathom it. And now that I don't do the radio anymore, I retired from ESPN. It'll be going on 2 years now. When I retired from them, I don't know where the time went. So I'm okay, I'm not doing that anymore. So now where is that time I had? Because I still feel like I'm running around with a chicken with his head cut off. And who doesn't like fried chicken? So it is crazy. I don't even know how it was possible, setting up shows with, how, especially wakeboarders, they're the worst. They're like fake movie stars. Like, they really don't make that much money, but they treat you like shit. Like, hey, your interview's at 8:00 and I'm going to I'm in Dubai today. So I was in a different time zone. Could you let me know the time zone next time? Okay. So, East Central time at 8:00. And oh, sorry, I messed up. That was today, bro. Oh man, like, it was like the worst. So we had to have like one person that all they did was call, call and confirm, and hand walk each athlete if they were coming in the studio or if they were doing an over the phone interview. And it was just a nightmare. And I mean, from some of the greats, Phil Sylvan to Sean Murray actually was the best. Sean Murray was the best.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what it was, what time you called. If you told him there was a specific topic you wanted to speak about, something that was coming out with Correct Craft or a new board from Hyperlight, Sean Murray was like spot on. He, by far, I would say he was the corporate America of wakeboarding.
In a good way. In a
good way. So like when corporate America works right, we have Chick-fil-A, right? So, so Sean Murray. Then you have other people like, Bad Boy, was Scott Barley.
Oh yeah.
I remember my wife when she met him. My wife is super square, bro, like to the fifth power. And like Scott Barley came into the first interview, and I was a little girl at that moment, right? But I was like, oh my God, Scott Barley! Lord Scott Barley! And he had the tattoos and the long grungy hair, and it looked like it smelled, and and he was just like really laid back. And my wife was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if we're gonna get shot. It was like the Barley team was like Breaking Bad, right? They were fearful, but they were so professional, and I credit it to Scott Barley's wife. She ran that thing seamlessly, and they were by far the two best. One had the look, and the other one didn't have the look, but actually had the understanding of what it took to run a business, and took the industry to another level. And I'm grateful for them, because I could always depend on them whenever I needed certain information to make action sports be action sports. And it went from there to gravel tours with Bill Porter at Performance Ski and Surf, to next thing you know, I'm interviewing Tony Hawk or Travis Pastrana. So like I went from local heroes, which I didn't know wakeboarding was the hub here in Orlando, Florida. So I was used to seeing all these people: Phil Sullivan, Daniel Powers, Rusty Malinowski. Those people were here. And so not knowing that they were the world leaders of wakeboarding, you kind of got, I think it's why wakeboarding kind of faded away, because Florida was so used to seeing them day to day. And I remember Sean Murray told me, I was so excited. I'm like, I had his video game. I was Sean Murray's, groupie. I gave him head in the of the gravel tours, right? And that sounds freaking nasty, but I would have been that groupie. Can I get backstage with Sean Murray? I have his Xbox game. I got, I posters on my wall. Sean Murray, I'll do anything. Here's my panties. Like I would have done that because it's Sean Murray. But then when I got to meet him, and understand his life and what wakeboarding was about, I realized that he could walk into a grocery store and no one gave a damn who he was.
Yep.
That balance killed wakeboarding. And Florida was the key to making it so, because we stopped showing up to the big competitions, the Dew Tour, Budweiser pulled out, the large company, Kraft Macaroni and Cheese, the milk campaign, right? Remember the Got Milk ads that used to be in wakeboarding magazine? They all went away because they were like, look, we can get these people at a football game. We can get them at NASCAR. We can get them at a hockey game, basketball game. We don't have to advertise specifically to wakeboarding. And they left us. It was sad. Sat completely.
How do they bring that back? Like, if you, from your perspective, if you could wave a magic wand and make wakeboard relative to the degree it was back then, because it's still around, it's still kicking, people are still loving it.
Oh yeah, no, it's still kicking, and by far, Correct Craft is still one of the most amazing boats in the world, right? They just got better and better, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not still relevant. I think it's more relevant to when we started wakeboarding in that industry. It was around 90, about the 95 era.
Yep.
And then it went into the 2000s. And I mean, it was like an amazing event. It was a spectacle. Like, everybody was there, the music, the sponsors, the money, the girls, the crowd, the atmosphere. They were rock stars. And I think what the only way you truly could fix it, it's not that it's not going on now. I think it's more accessible. And it went from the average household income was around $70,000 to $85,000 a year, which it seems like nothing kind of when you think about it right now. But when you think about the wakeboarding industry and the water sports industry as a whole, there was that fight between the skiers and the wakeboarders kind of taking over the industry, and the trick skiers. And then, you know, that split happened, but the money was still there. And you could go to these competitions, and there's BMWs and Bentleys and tour bus RVs, and people would have, you know, Hummers and Jags. And it was still Brad and Chad having a great time. But this isn't a career, son. You're going to be a doctor soon. Let's talk about Shane O'Brien, right?
Yeah.
His dad, a doctor, did not see wakeboarding as a way of life. And his son went to college and doing his thing to become a doctor, but there was no true family respect for the industry. And so I don't think the money never got big enough so people could see it as a career like skateboarding, right? Yeah. They couldn't see it as a career. It wasn't a household name. There was no true Tony Hawk, even though we had Sean Murray, but it wasn't big enough. And so the respect level never grew. We just allowed more people to come into the industry through cable parks and through wake skating. And, you know, wake skating, you could get a winch and you're in the back of a ditch, and now you're the next, Brandon Thompson, or you're the next George Daniels. These guys are cutting trees and working at Home Depot. That's not a career. That's not it put these guys on such a plane where you start to learn through also social media allowing us into their lives, and it took the blindfolds of these guys are superstars off of all of us, and we're like, hold on, this guy's bagging groceries at Publix.
Yeah, sure.
That right there ruined the aspect. It expanded the sport, but it also made it where people didn't see it the same. And when you don't have fans, you don't have a sport.
You know, Kevin, you bring up something though. It's interesting because after we went off air for literally a decade, I started to work with a lot of different athletes, and I shouldn't say work with them as much as I interviewed them. And it was interesting to see, just from the perspective of even people on your show that weren't in wakeboarding and such, it was always a daily grind. So for instance, I look at the Kevin Sutton Show and I see an amazing show, right? But you always have a backup. You have your construction company, you have all those different things there that you're the serial entrepreneur. And then of course, when I look at the other athletes, they said there's some crazy number out there. It was 85% of athletes are broke within 2 years. And so I'm just wondering, from your perspective and all the interviews that you've done with athletes and successful people and such, what are some of the successful backup plans that you have seen? Right. So does that make any sense?
Yeah. I will say this. It was during the time I got to see a little inside perspective of Sean Murray, and we were renovating his house through my construction company, and so we became friends, and I got to see, one, there was money in the sport, but then also the other side of it was his business sense. I remember it was during the time of not Correct Craft and Mastercraft split. Well, that happened too, right? So the Correct Craft and Mastercraft split happened. And as in the family, right? The Malone family, not as in the two boat manufacturers, but the family splitting internally. You had to pick a side. And then all of a sudden, you had the same thing happen with Hyperlight or HO Sports.
Yes.
And that split where, the thought process of seeing Sean deal with the emotional aspect of, these are my friends, these are my crew, this is where I'm at, but also realizing I'm a family guy. I got my wife, we got the kid, we're about to, these things are about to happen in our lives. Longevity of this career, what do I have to look for outside of, I'm going with my bros? That thought process was deeper than a check. It was not just making money now, not just getting your name on a board, not just getting to have the executive viewpoint or the thought process on more control over your product. It was those athletes that decided to stay, realizing that the long game of staying with Hyperlight was more beneficial, and staying with Correct Craft and the Malone family was more beneficial than jumping ship to something that could start, that could possibly be. And the other brand, what was it called? Jeez. He started it with Parks Bonifay.
Ronix?
And who else went over there?
Ronix?
Ronix, right? The Ronix, right?
Yeah.
So the brand started and kicked off and moved amazing.
Right.
But it still didn't have that strength of the homegrown name of Hyperlight. Sure. And no matter what they did, they never could be that specific image. They went hard to the core of like, hey, we are the roots of wakeboarding. And it was just like the WWE when they started the NXT with Hulk Hogan left and he went to be a bad boy. It didn't work. It doesn't sell to America. And you have to have a thought process of when people from other countries, Japan and you got people in Dubai and people in the Philippines are looking at our wakeboarders. In the UK, they're looking at how great it is to be an American wakeboarder, how great it would be to go to America and train and be in the best place in the world called Florida, Central Florida, and be able to ride year round. We are one spot, one destination. We are the heart of the wakeboarding industry that people attached all of these dreams to. And that's why we had all the great wakeboarders that have come from other countries, even, what's his name? Harley Clifford.
Oh, yeah.
I remember him coming all the way from Australia in my backyard. My backyard. He was riding with Josh Sanders. And I got to meet the kid when he was like 8 years old. Like, holy crap, this kid is phenomenal. I should give up wakeboarding right now. But he had that American dream, and that's what he's doing right now. Right. There was a dream to being what we have. And this is wakeboarding. And I think everything in business breaks down to the same thought process. Whether it's the American dream to come here and raise your family and, be able to reach for the skies and do whatever you want to do in a free society, and Republican, Democrat, or whatever you are in between, that dream is what ignites that fire. For sports, it's what ignites that fire, where you see people living in the projects, but they want to be able to become the next Michael Jordan, and you see this kid playing nonstop, dribbling a basketball to reach for that dream, because they see it's an image. You see Michael Jordan being amazing. He's in movies. He has money. He has the girls. He has all the excitement. He has the clothing line. And you're like, I want to be that. And then you have Kobe Bryant because he saw Michael Jordan. Then you have LeBron James because he saw Michael. Like, you ignite it from a dream. And when you don't have that dream, it kills the industry. And how you fix it, we have to bring back the respect to the industry. I said this one time on air at an event. We were hosting, that was the Do Tour, and we were doing a live remote from there. And I said, the one thing that sickens me about wakeboarding is that there's no respect. And they said, what do you mean? I said, think about this. A Little League baseball game, a football game, all Little League, Pop Warner, starts with a Pledge of Allegiance. Wakeboarding events never took that into effect. And not only has that ruined our schools, it's ruined our country. People lose respect for what they're doing. When you lose respect for your sport, for your teachers, for the police department, I mean, everything that we do all folds around a platform of structure. And when you don't have that structure, it's going to destroy itself. And that's for everything.
So I have a question for you. This is shifting gears a little bit, and that's an interesting take because, you know, you see some sports like, you know, like skateboarding and stuff like that. You know, we just had it in the Olympics this year, you know, so it's starting, that structure is kind of finally happening after decades of it being, you know, but I also wonder, and I want to get your perspective on this. It seems to me, you know, we grew up with the sport. I remember the scurfer. I remember the scurfer.
You just call that a piece of plywood, man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, we used to ride, you know, truck hoods and canals behind a truck, you know, like, you know, and we thought we were like the most amazing thing in the world. So I guess my point is like, I remember in like the wakeboard videos and stuff like that, like a blindside 180 was like amazing. Like you know, like you've just accomplished the great things. I think sometimes I wonder if extreme sports are almost a victim of their own success, in the sense that now you have social media where you can see everyone that's accelerating the whatever sport it is, whether it's, you see it in motocross. Like motocross is becoming, in my opinion, increasingly, I'm not gonna say irrelevant, but I'm never gonna be a Pastrana. And when I do my, you know, when I do my 10-foot jump on my YZ, I'm not cool anymore. You know what I mean? And so for like wakeboarding, when I see what they're doing on big ramps and stuff like that, are extreme sports a victim of their success and how far they've elevated? Are they getting to a point where it's not cool to even start?
Travis Pastrana doesn't even count. The guy went to the freaking moon. Right?
I know.
But that right there gives you action sports. We want it all in our face, impactful. We want it exciting. We want it like, oh man, bigger, and better. And this is why girls in wakeboarding don't get paid as much as guys in wakeboarding. Like, and you'll have Dallas Friday, right? So she's let's say it, she's a guy, right? She's explosive off the wake. She's amazing. Even in her age now, she is still a phenomenal rider. But you can't get the money without the excitement, right? And now the guys are doing everything. And I remember when Rusty Malinowski landed the first 1080, and you got Parks Boniface says, I did it first. It's just not on a real good video, but okay. But it was Parks Boniface, Rusty Malinowski, and then Still Lafferty. And when those guys were landing those, it was like, oh my goodness, we never seen anything like that ever before, right? And it was like, okay, now what's next? And people just sat there. Show me something. So if a guy's not doing a 1080, blindside tantrum to backside 1080, or you got what's the guy's name? I don't want to do the negative to bring his name up, but he was the little short guy, man.
Darren Shapiro.
Darren Shapiro, right? So Darren Shapiro when he was doing those power balls with
double fronts.
No one did that, but people love seeing it. People love seeing it, and he says that destroyed my back. My spinal cord no longer exists.
Yeah.
But we wanted to see more, and the double up contest had so many people viewing it because it was major. I mean, these guys are going 40, 50 feet up in the air. And then you bring it to the mega ramp of skateboarding. Why did the ramps get bigger? Why is the bowl competition doesn't have the same attendance as a mega ramp competition?
Yeah.
The same thing as street skating doesn't have, like, it's great it went into the Olympics. I was very happy skateboarding was in the Olympics, but I think it would have been better if they put the mega ramp.
Sure.
You could have done that and got the impact. People want to see you get hurt. That's it. They want to see you get hurt. There has to be excitement. And if there's no excitement, there's nothing to watch. And the thing that tells you that the most is why, if it's not excitement, it's about the process and the respect factor of how it's the foundation of the sport, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People love to watch football, right? But they were like, let's put girls in bikini, and we're gonna put some girls in some shoulder pads.
Yeah.
And then we'll add in some wrestlers, and they'll be slamming you. And so they took all the action and put it to the same sport, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about the respect level of the sport. But then you take skateboarding, and people are pissed off that street skating was in the Olympics. They're like, there was nothing to it. It was like, it was boring. It was, it was nothing. BMX in the Olympics, it was sometimes it's not just about the action. It's about the respect level of the sport. People will sit there and watch Olympic ping pong, Olympic, what's that stuff? Fools where they got the little damn thing, and you what's that crap? The little puck that's on the ground. Curling.
Curling.
The curling. There's a respect level to curling. There's a foundation of a tradition of that sport that makes it amazing, where people follow it and care about it. It's the reason why soccer or football, right, is so respected worldwide. It's the same reason that I thought action sports is definitely not yo-yos. And I was like, there's no way that there's a crowd, there's not an atmosphere. And I remember going to my first yo-yo competition, and Duncan Yo-Yos called us, and they said, hey, we want you to come out and do a live remote for a competition. I was like, ain't nobody watching no damn yo-yos. I went there to that competition, and I saw more people there than I've ever seen at a wakeboarding competition. Wow. I saw more fans, more people buying product, more people buying t-shirts, meeting the athletes and enjoying themselves. And then I went home, and I had a radio show the next day, and I researched. I just did in Google search. And this was the easiest way to find out anything. Google search, see how many things that pop up for it. You put in yo-yo, and it was phenomenal. It was in the billions.
Oh,
but if you put in wakeboarding, it wasn't even in the hundreds of thousands. You put in skateboarding, wasn't even into the millions. So the thing that happens is, what we think is exciting, what we think has a connection to the people, isn't always what's connected to the people. It's how there's a fundamental connection, generational, to a yo-yo. Yeah. Skateboarding has that generational connection. You rolled a skateboard when you were a kid, so you're like, hey, you wanted to be good, so you want, let me get that for my kid. There's that connection that transfers over. There's a gap for wakeboarding, and that gap isn't there. That, like, there's, okay, I wakeboarded, so I'm gonna get my kid a wakeboard. I'm gonna take my kid, I'm gonna get a boat, I'm gonna take him out on the boat, and they're gonna ride. But I also know there's no real money in wakeboarding, so am I gonna push my kid into this career of possibly becoming a professional wakeboarder to be here? Right. Or am I gonna get them into golf? Right? Or am I gonna get them into, volleyball?
Uh-oh.
But volleyball can get them a college career. It can get volleyball can get your kid into college. Volleyball can get your kid into an amazing career. They can be an Olympic gold medalist. They can have a career training people around the country. And so volleyball still has that thing where, it gets you into college, gets you into high schools that you want to go. There's something to it. Wakeboarding doesn't have that pull.
Yeah.
Our collegiate teams that we started mean nothing. It's a frat party.
Well, what's weird too is when I was a kid, my hobbies, there was no intention. It wasn't even on the radar that I might be able to have a career in this, and I think that's something that's changed as well, that I think is detrimental to like a lot of sports is, now a lot of times we're going into it for our children of like, what's the trajectory here? You got to go somewhere, like, for me, it was like, I just want to go out, jump on a skateboard and have some fun. And that's it. And,
it's not that anymore.
Yeah, now kids are growing up so fast, and the expectation is you got to fill every waking moment with your, building your future. I think that's a disservice too, and I think that's a tragedy.
It's interesting. Go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good. You're good.
It's interesting because we started about what wakeboarding in the show and such, but what is interesting is everyone here is at least in the Mountain West, are buying boats to do surfing. There's no competition with that. It's low impact. And so I think looking at how the sports evolve and adapt, it's interesting because I would have never seen surfing, behind a boat as something that was going to be a trend. And right now, everyone buying a boat now is doing it for the purpose of surfing. So there's that evolution and that adaptation that comes into sport as well.
I remember when Correct Craft came out with, I think it was a Super Aeronautique, but it's like the 200 or something like that. It was the next one that the ballast system was phenomenal. You didn't have to put any ballast system outside of what came from the factory. The prop was different. The hull was different. They did this whole thing where they did when Bill Yargin came on, and they started this whole push to the industry, and wake surfing was being created. Mm-hmm. And the swell, it was all about the swell and how the boat rolled, and wake surfing was becoming popular. But what you got to see is that one family could have, let's have a whole soccer team, right? Like you can have five people in your family, right? And everybody could pretty much ride the same wake surf.
Yeah.
Every single last person in the family, one wake surfboard, one boat, and you can go out and have a great time. And it's not too crazy. You're not, getting your eyelids rolled back or getting a lakefront enema, right? It's not about your knees or your back or getting slung around like crazy. It is low impact, but you could still have a great time.
Yeah.
And that sport was great for the industry, but it also turned it to where it killed other sports. Mm-hmm. Wake skating, wakeboarding. It's pushed it to the point where that's all I see on my lake now is people wake surfing.
Yeah.
And you got like Tommy Machine. He's amazing wake wake surfer, right? And they started having a little bit of competitions here and there, but it never picked up as huge as what the industry thought it would. But it's selling boats and it's selling damn wake surf boards. And it is sad. It is sad that it created something. And my wife, we went from action sports, and she was a co-host on the radio show with me. And then she's always been a political consultant, and she worked for Senator Bill Nelson for almost like 10 years in charge of immigration, transportation, and FEMA. And so politics has always been her. But she ran for office and she won her seat. And so now that she won the seat, she's one of our Orange County commissioners, or I have to say Orange County, Florida commissioners, so people don't think California. But a big thing on the nav board for the lakes here are the wake zones. The wake zones, they're disrespectful. They're eroding the shorelines. It's because the swells are massive, but in order to swell, it has to go down and then pop back up, which then it's eroding the underbelly of the lake and causing a lot of bacteria and causing a lot of damage to the natural vegetation that's on the lakes. It's unbalanced in the ecosystem, and everybody is wake surfing. That's it. There's tons of wake surfing on the lakes. And I've got to deal with, Sean Murray, the Correct Craft Company, the International Water Ski Association. I forgot the guy's name. But he's had to come in front of my wife. Like, all these people are coming back into us. And it's strange to see it, but the other side effect of that wake surfing is it has a downside, and people are they're wanting to put no wake zones all over the place, because people pay millions of dollars to live on the lake, and then their shorelines getting eroded. And a lot of the younger kids, like here in Florida, we don't have any boating laws where you have to have a license per se. Like in Michigan, Utah, you guys have to have a license. Here in Florida, just get in there and have a good time. Yeah. You're having people being inconsiderate of a lot of things, and it's causing a lot of problems on our lakes. Wow. So we're trying to, because we love wakeboarding, my wife loved it, that's how we even moved on the lake. So she's a different person voting for it, because she actually understands the industry and knows what's going on. But at the same time, there's a pull of trying to pull things back. A lot of lakes, so many people now have boats. A lot of lakes don't even have enough parking for the trailers, because a boat was before, people even barely had one car per family. Now people got 4 or 5 cars per family and a boat. And now homeowners association, like, you can't park that trailer here, can't park the boat here. So where do these all go? But the lakes weren't made for that many people to have boats. And so now people are complaining about the parking situations. The cops are getting involved. They're giving people DUIs coming off of the lake and all type. It's absolutely insane. Wow. But it's all around this sport that we love. Like we love this wakeboarding and love the industry. And just think about the Surf Expo. Yeah, that hasn't been the same. Man, I would say in almost 10 years. I remember my first Surf Expo, my first sex expo. My first Surf Expo. It was like the best thing in the world, and it was like, oh, you got into the Surf Expo? Oh my goodness! And you could show that badge on Facebook. Yeah, man, I'm going. I'm big bang. And now it's just like, it's all about surfing. Yeah. There's no step it up wake pools. They're there, right. Step it up. They still have their pools there, but it's for paddle boards. Yeah. You gotta let that sink in. Because paddle boards did the same thing you go in Bill Porter's store now. Tons of paddle boards. Tons. Wow. And that's taken on. Now they got the inflatable ones. They got the roof racks, and people are paddleboarding. And that's even an issue with our county commission dealing with is, these paddleboarders people are having a company. Hey, you don't have to have a paddleboard or a jet ski or a boat. We'll bring it out to the lake for you, and you just meet us there. And so now they're renting and running a business on the lake, and it's not meant for business. So it's not commercial, it's residential. So then people are complaining. It's absolutely insane, but it changed the industry. And I've gotten to see it all with a different set of glasses. I'm getting older, so I really have to wear glasses. But these glasses,
I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain.
These glasses are ones that I really don't want to look at. Because I would like, I live on the lake because I wakeboarded, I still have the house, but I sold my boat and don't care to get one. And it's not that I don't love the sport. it's just I don't see it. I told my wife, I was like, man, maybe we should get a pontoon boat, and she was like,
Oh, yeah.
what? But they're great. I'm 43 now. Like, I like it's great. We could do inner tubing. We can go fishing. We can get one with a slide. The kids can have fun. And she's like, you don't want to do because my daughter, she's 17 now. And so I got a little guy, he's 4. So like, she's like, are you going to put him in wakeboard? I'm like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
I think a career in volleyball, he's gonna be a tall kid, that takes care of his college and all that. So like, I'm like, maybe we could do some volleyball, and pontoon boat just seems fitting.
Do it, man.
It's sad, and that's coming from me. That's coming from me, a person that jumped into the industry. I was, 23 years old, came in late. Didn't know what wakeboarding was all about, and fell absolutely head over heels. Sold my house, bought another house on the lake, bought a boat, pushed and started a nonprofit. We were Beyond the Water for Kids Foundation. We started introducing inner city kids to water sports. Thousands of kids, we got to do that. And, we were collecting old equipment from people, and they could donate it like they were donating to the Goodwill, that we would take that equipment and use to teach kids. And we would travel all around the state, up and down, foster home kids. I mean, we did so many things. And as I was competing, trying to become a professional, the highs I got was we got into outlaw. And I really did bad once I got the outlaw. I should have stayed at intermediate, right? But after you can't do, I would say after you can do like a 780, that no reason to compete. But I was older, so I was going to construction work and coming home and training in the middle of the night. But it was a dream that I had, and I was fitting it in there. But it led into the radio show and doing the action sports for ESPN, and it was an amazing ride. But having that all, I think it has led me to realize that the sport's not dead, but we have to go back to the foundation. We have to go back to creating a foundation for the sport and the respect level to build again. And I think we can see it where, people like, oh, wakeboarding in the Olympics, they had a hard enough time doing the skateboard course, having a location for that for the Olympics. I don't see, lake to lake. There's barely lakes in most places. The pools were a good thing, but then that doesn't allow you to be really a wakeboarder. It's more a cable park guy, and that's not gonna happen anytime soon, because skateboarding kind of ruined it. And I remember this happened with Sean Murray when the Wakeboarding Unleashed got pulled off the shelves, and they told him it wasn't that, because you couldn't find his game anywhere. They were sold out. It wasn't because his game didn't do good. It was because the girl, she was a pro surfer that got bit by the shark.
Oh yeah, Bethany Hamilton. Yep.
Bethany Hamilton, her game didn't do good. So Walmart executives said, we're pulling all the water sport games off of our shelves because that game flopped. No, I mean, surfing on the Xbox, like it was a dumb idea to start with, right? But that game did bad. They got a bad taste in their mouth for water sports on video games, and they pulled all of the water sports games. And when that happened, I learned Walmart makes the decision for a lot of stuff. They buy more games than any other store nationwide. And then when you have that power, that one person can make that decision to ruin it for the rest. And that's why you didn't see anything else come out after that. but not having another connection, finding that, inner city, that Black kid, that, finding the Hispanic kid that gets to learn about that sport to then evolve into being the next Tony Hawk or the next Travis Pastrana. When you take the connection of minorities out of a sport, it kills growth. And that's why you saw skateboarding explode when it became diversified. McDonald's doesn't just sell burgers. They were like, we need to sell salads, because the industry was going into the health factor. So they were like, we have healthier stuff. We have grilled chicken. We have the fish sandwich. We have salads, because they knew they needed to grow. Wakeboarding is missing the growth chart. And that's in all business. Everything that you guys do, you see that's how it works. It's about understanding your industry and being able to pivot and get that return on investment.
Yeah. You have a lot of stuff, and this could go on for a long time, and it looks like we're going to have to get Myra on the show too. I had no idea on the politics. But it would be good, because I mean, we haven't seen each other for, good grief, going on a decade, right? And so there's a lot more we could talk about. So let's do it at another time. All right. I'm looking at the time right now. You're late.
I'm gonna get over there. I'm gonna go ahead and get driving. But I love you guys, and it's definitely great getting to talk to you, and it just kind of ignited that fire inside, just getting to have these conversations. So definitely, it's definitely a big part of my life, and you guys are a part of that. And I thank you for the opportunity to get to catch up like this.
More to come, dude. More to come.
Hey, you have a good one, my friend. Great seeing you.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you.